When we know the truth, we can manage whatever the story is. If we don't know the truth, we continually jump at shadows. I think launching a project well and contemplating change within the project is really key to ensuring, that's one big mistake that's happened. I was pretty terrified to tell my boss at the time that this had happened.
Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on as a guest.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Look, I think where I wanted to start is just really getting an understanding. I mean, we know it's challenging times, in the industry right now, just because of project delays, project retendering. Talk us through your current role now. What are some of the pressures and things that you deal with in your role at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently the General Manager of Operations for a Tier 1 company, and I look after Queensland and the Northern Territory. So there's lots happening, in both areas. So what are we being tested and what challenges are we seeing? We're seeing projects delayed. We're seeing pipelines change. We're seeing projects come to the market and then withdrawn. So it's really it's a challenge to adapt to all of those things that are being thrown at us. I do think, though, that's part of the role, right? You have to adapt to change, and that's exactly what we do. I feel working for a Tier 1 company as I do, we have a really diverse skill set. So when, the boil goes off the road industry, we're really strong in water. We're good with dams. We're good with rail. So we cross, I guess, a lot of different areas, and there's a real luxury in being able to have a really diverse skill set. So that helps us adapt a lot as well. And I think too, staying positive, that one door closes and another one opens. So I have been in the industry for over 30 years, and to be honest, I don't remember a time where I didn't have a job or I didn't have work. Yeah, maybe I had to move somewhere, but there will be work and there'll be work somewhere. So always staying positive on that front, I think, helps us get through it. The other key component is our resources. So we often gear up when we anticipate tenders coming out, or when we've won a job, we really gear up and with our people. And so it's really important, as in my role, that we have continuity for these people. The ups and downs do make that somewhat challenging. But people are at the centre of everyone's business, so we need to keep them engaged and keep them happy and keep them working.
You touched on something really important there that I wanted to delve into, which is, it's obviously key to you and what you speak about is the people. And when we look at the people, what do people you feel want to see from our leaders? So when we're going through challenging times, or if they're being questioned on project reviews, what do they want to see from a leader?
I think they want to see calm. And I think that's probably one of my greatest assets is remaining calm. I remain calm on the outside, not always on the inside. But I think, people want to see calm from their leaders. They want to see certainty. Uncertainty really, it breeds unrest. So they want to see certainty. And so as a leader, that's something that we need to give our people. I also think the truth, giving our people the truth and knowing where the business stands, where we stand, where we're going. Yeah, it gives them that certainty. And I think that's a really key thing in times of change and times of challenge.
Okay, I want to delve into the truth a bit more because, say I'm a project manager, I'm a project director and a project's going badly. Where do you see the truth coming into play, and how important is it that we're all honest? Is that something that you learnt through your career, or where does that ethos come from for you?
Yes, I think it's probably come from my upbringing. So as well, telling the truth and integrity and honesty has always been, it was how I was brought up. So the truth, telling the truth and being told the truth is really important to me. It's something I foster in my relationships with my direct reports. It's something I foster in our culture. When we know the truth, we can manage whatever the story is. If we don't know the truth, we continually jump at shadows. So I spend a lot of time and a lot of effort in ensuring my working relationships with my people are based on that. And they know I have their back when they come to me. And I certainly do have their back. And I make sure that there's a comfortable environment for them to tell me the truth. That doesn't mean I always like to hear the truth. It's not always something that I want to hear, but at least we can come up with a way to challenge it and a way to fix it. And it allows us to make good business decisions. We have to duck and weave and we have to adapt again. So if we know the truth, we can do that. If we're jumping at shadows, it's near impossible.
One of the things you've mentioned to me before, and I'm really curious about, is you went from PM to GM in 3 years, right? Rapid, good progression. I'm really interested in understanding, how did your leadership change as the roles changed too?
Yeah, that's a good question. So from project manager, I actually changed companies. From project manager, I became an operations manager. I felt I loved the camaraderie of project life. I'm creating that culture and everything on a project is so important to its success. So I really love that component of project life. I don't think I knew my leadership potential until I stepped into an operations manager role, and I was able to watch what some of the project managers and project directors were going through. And I guess given my history, I knew what they needed to succeed. So in terms of my leadership, it was really quite okay, team, this is what we've got to do. These are the targets we're going to set. This is what we want to do, to a role where it was like, okay, what's your vision from the project manager? You tell me what it is you're trying to achieve. And we would workshop things and come up with a united way forward. But then it was really about what I needed to do to support them and help them succeed. Because if our projects don't succeed, we don't make money. And if we don't make money, we can't employ people. We don't have an industry or a business. So, yeah, I think that change in leadership for me, I really enjoyed it. And I actually really loved every minute of being an operations manager, and then fortunate enough to have the opportunity to step into a general manager's role, which, I'm very grateful for, and I love doing it. So, yeah.
I want to talk about, you talk about making profits, right? Kind of important, but challenging, right? With the margins that we're dealing with in the industry at the moment as well. When you look at, you're privileged to deal with so many different projects, project directors. What are the foundations of a successful project? So if we look at a project and we're kicking it off, what should we be considering?
Oh, so many things. So I think a lot of success comes from how we launch a project. So if you launch a project well, it tends to go well. There's always things, construction methodologies, and there will be tendering rates. There's always a lot of things that, come with delivering a project. But I think if, you can get certainly a part of your team involved in the tendering and the winning of the project, and they go into delivery, that's a critical step for us. And, I'm sure it is for most businesses, because then there's a real understanding of what we priced and what we tendered and how we're going to go out and deliver it. So that continuity for me is really good. And how we adapt to change. So if something needs to change in our methodology, that we follow a process and we consider all things, and really is that change going to benefit us? And I think launching a project well and contemplating change within the project is really key to ensuring, that you remain on task and profitable. I also think, your relationship with your clients and who your clients turn up to projects with as well, that working relationship and how you navigate, challenges and, variations or adjustment events, how you deal with contractual issues can really impact the outcome of a job. And if you turn up with collaborative people, you turn up with knowledgeable people and people who are really willing to, in times of challenge, work the problem, not the people, I think that's a really critical component to ensuring that the projects are profitable. Profits it's not a dirty word in my view. It's certainly not a dirty word, but nobody wants to be ripped off and nobody wants to lose money. And I think when we operate in a place that that businesses earn their rightful money, I think that's a good place for clients and a good place for business.
I love that you say this, and I want to talk more about it, work the problem, not the people. Tell me about what that looks like in action and how you go about that as a leader. Say something's gone wrong on a project. What does it mean to work the problem and not the people?
So in construction, it's no secret that we love to blame someone when things don't go well. We like to say, right, you're accountable for that. You're out. Because it makes us feel good, right? It means that, well, I've taken action and I've done something about it. The problem still remains. So even though you remove a person, sometimes when you work the problem, it might come out that there's a people problem too and you need to deal with that. But again, it comes back to the truth. If you know what you've got to deal with and you know the background and you know where we need to get to, then you can come up with a way forward and you can solve the problem or work the problem. And rather than, going straight for the jugular. And I feel like, getting people united on solving the problem, adapting to it, and coming up with a way forward it's far more beneficial to everybody than, having that big you're out kind of mentality.
What impact do you think, because there's so much problem solving and innovation needed in engineering on projects. So if there is a blame culture as an example, what impact do you think that has on people speaking up and being truthful about the situation?
Well, it won't happen.
Yeah.
So it doesn't happen, So I've worked in environments where it has been like that and, you don't get the best out of your people. And when we get the best out of our people, that's when our projects go well. That's when we're profitable. That's when we have good retention. So it's such a neat cycle when we do those kinds of things.
How do you keep, when the stakes are high, let's talk openly about one of the challenges that constantly people talk to me about. When the stakes are high, and let's be honest, and if a project is losing money, morale can sometimes be affected or morale can be low. How do you motivate these people to finish a job and feel good about the work they've done?
Yeah, so culture. It all comes back to the culture and having a good culture and making sure people know that you have their back. And that's at all levels. So it's one thing for me to have the project directors back. It's another thing for them to have their teams back. So I think process is another good thing when we follow our processes and when it comes to programming and costing and all of those sorts of sort of project-related things, quality. When we stick to those processes, it gives us the best chance of, spending less as opposed to jumping at shadows or trying to have quick solutions. Going back to the process and the sound planning will help our projects get through those hard times. And look, let's face it, sometimes you need your best people on the hardest projects because, if you didn't have them there, then the outcome could be so much worse. So culture always comes back to it. We have a couple of really challenging projects, but the culture is quite good. So, that's always a good sign. I did hear someone say to me once, if you're not in the trenches, you don't get to talk about the war. Ooh. So, and I feel that's really, really true when it comes to, there's a distress project and you hear people speaking, poorly about the project. I always feel like there's people in these trenches, working really, really hard to deliver a really challenging outcome. And they're the people we need to listen to, not the people on the peripheral that are, casting judgment. And yeah, I think
you've got a really good reputation for listening to your people and obviously have developed, a really nice culture around that and the people come to you. How do you do that? I need to know, when you come into your role and in a leadership role and you're promoted, how do you foster trust? How do you foster, it's great to say it, what does that mean in action? How do people see that and feel that from you as a leader?
Oh, that's a good question. I think first and foremost, it's building a sound relationship with the project directors in my current role. I think it's also choosing the right people that work well, with my style as well. So we have a team of people that have really different experience. We have a really diverse team as well, and that is experience, culture, gender. So we do, I guess we have the luxury of, some really balanced views, and that's deliberate, that we form a team that complements each other. And so it takes time to build a good team. And I would say I'm still going through some of that. But I certainly have a team of people that I can trust, that I can rely upon, and they can do the same to me. And I think that just comes down to if there is a challenge that you do go and help out, and that you're not taking the limelight from these people, that you're actually saying, putting these people in the limelight because they're doing great work. So I tend to, that's how I do it, because I think if we have a good working relationship that's respectful and trustworthy and honest, then I just think it naturally happens. It's served me well for the last, 30 years. And there's certainly been people that I've come across in the industry that, I haven't found a way to be able to work with them, and vice versa, right? I'm sure there's people that my style infuriates other people, but I just think you just build a team that works and complements each other. And so that's how I do it.
What are some of the things you see leaders do when you've got project directors that make you proud? What are some of the things? Because I get the feeling all of the time you lead through others, that you definitely celebrate your team, and, the way you even speak about it is very it's cohesive, right? So what makes you proud to see project directors doing in your team on site and the way that they behave?
The smile test. So when you walk into any project site and you have a look around, and if you see most people smiling, or there's, a lightness in the room, it's generally the project has great culture and, things are going well. When you go into a project site where everyone's, got their hands in their heads, or, the air feels heavy, I think that's usually reflective of how a project's going. So I do love it when I walk in and the air feels light and there's lots of smiles. So that's probably the one thing that, makes me feel the proudest, when our project directors have fostered that kind of culture. And it's not just the project directors, everyone's got to buy into it. But again, they've put together teams that complement each other and that work well together. So yeah, I think that's what warms my soul anyway when I walk onto a project site.
When you look at that smile test, can a project still have, I'm just curious about this in general, can a project still have the smile test even if it's going badly? Have you ever had one?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. All
yeah,
right.
of course. So, again, right, we do our best work when our backs are against the wall. So, and like I said earlier, we need our best people on our distressed projects because they're the ones that are going to get us out of it. And they're also, people that have got tenacity and drive to finish a project. And there is no sweeter feeling than, driving over a bridge or a new motorway or on rail. There's no sweeter feeling than the end result. And the noise of the distress and the challenge soon goes when you're using the infrastructure.
That's a beautiful example. Are you, because I know you've got 4 kids of your own, are you the person that goes, I built that? Do you do that?
Oh. Yes. I think they know, though. They tend to, that throughout the years, they tend to, come and drive through site on the odd occasion and stuff. But yeah, I don't know if I ever say I built that, but maybe I worked on that.
Yeah.
So,
I like it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's my favourite thing to do. You can touch everything that we do, that whole touching the piece of infrastructure. So, yeah, I think they like it too. Well, I've got 2 engineers out of 4. So I
was going to say, well done. Thank you. You're propping the industry up, not only at work, but at home, bringing some more through.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to delve into your career journey and personally as well, because you've got 4 kids. You've, made decisions throughout your career that were right for you both personally and professionally. Talk me through the journey of having kids, then making career decisions. How did you navigate both?
Sometimes I think it's a bit of a blur, I've got to say. I think it comes down to I have an extraordinarily tolerant husband, I think, who has always been very supportive of my career. I've also had the luxury of a mother that has been really helpful and supportive when we've needed it, particularly when the children were young. So I think those 2 things allowed me to go to work, allowed me to progress, in my career. So yeah, that's the fundamentals. But I also had a mentor, particularly when I came back to work after having a family, who I was a project engineer at the time. And, you know, I kind of found my equilibrium where I was doing my job well, I was managing home well and all of that sort of stuff. And every time I got comfortable, he'd say, okay, Tash, it's time to step up again. And I would resist it. And he'd say, you were the only person that resists a promotion. And because I liked the balance, and I'm forever grateful to him for every time he saw I started to get comfortable, he started to push me again. And I worked for him for quite a while. So yeah, I feel like he played a really critical role in how I managed some of that, because he at no stage did he ever stop me from being a mum. There were times when I have 3 girls and a boy, and I was always on time for work if the children weren't awake before I left in the morning. But if they were awake, I had 3 girls. Can you do my hair, Mum? Can you braid my hair? Or can you do this? Mum's here, Mum's awake. So I found it really challenging to get to work on time if the children were awake before I left. And so I was having this conversation with my boss at the time, and he just said, okay, 2 days a week, you don't have to be at pre-start. It fundamentally changed my life. You know, I turned up to work at 7:30 still. It wasn't like it was really late. But just having those 2 mornings to be a mum, you know, it certainly didn't affect my productivity. I was so grateful for that opportunity to be able to do that. That that kind of leadership from him taught me a lot about the kind of leader I wanted to be. And he never wanted me to be anyone but me. And he always embraced what I brought to the table. He embraced my leadership style, and he embraced me being a mum. So yeah, it was a pretty awesome time in my career.
That's an awesome example and pretty beautiful, because it shows, you know, just having that compassionate leader that understands your work and your home life, and that it all blends, but then you can make it work, and then you feel so much more productive at work, and you don't feel bad because you know you've got those days you're coming later. It's just eases that stress.
Oh, absolutely. And that was 15 years ago now. So I feel like we've come a long way in that space in construction. So that was at a time when that was really, really bucking the system then. And I guess his bravery to help me on that journey is probably something that has stemmed into my leadership. You know, you have to be brave, and you have to take on challenges, and you have to, you know, we live in a different world now to what we did 15 years ago. What, you know, the younger people who are coming through the ranks now, they want different things to what we wanted 15 years ago. So staying abreast of what good looks like and being able to adapt to that. That mentor really, really taught me how to do that.
When you talk about being brave, I have to talk about something brave you did, and that was packing up a family and moving to Darwin. So let's unpack that a little bit. So tell me about what that moment was like, and what it means to relocate and reestablish family. Because I know heaps of people do it. It's just part of the industry. And in fact, more people may be doing it as the industry shifts over the next couple of years. So what was that like? Take us on the journey.
Yeah, that was quite the journey. But a fantastic journey. So, the company I was working for at the time won a job up in Darwin, and they said to me as we were going through the tender phase, Natasha, we need you to attend these workshops, but I don't think we'll win it, so that's okay. And I said, oh, sure, I'll go along. Next minute, we win the job. And so then came the request, you know, well, would you consider going up to Darwin? And my instinct said, well, how can I? No, I can't possibly move 4 children that were in primary school and first year at high school. I can't possibly do that. And I sort of just said, look, just give me a bit of time. I'll go and have a chat with my husband, and we'll see how we go. And I went home that night and spoke to my husband about it, and he instantly said, this is the change I've been waiting for. Let's do it. Let's go. So next day I went into work, and a month later we'd all moved to Darwin. So brave is one word for it. I would say it was the best move we ever made as a family. We threw ourselves into the unknown. It really taught me how resilient and how fantastic children are in times of change. we no longer had our support network at the drop of a hat. And so I think it really brought us together as a family. We had to go and make new friends. We went and joined different sporting teams with the children. And look, we spent 5 years up there, and some of our friends from up there are our friends for life. We saw the top end of Australia. We went on holidays everywhere. It was a 2-hour flight to Bali. So we did some pretty amazing things as a family. And I think the trip away was more impactful for me on my personal side than perhaps the professional side. I loved every minute of the job up there, don't get me wrong. And I learned a lot about, navigating same industry, different environment, different culture, different feel. So that was learning. But I think the experience of just, taking the kids and the family and doing something new, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I don't need to take my 4 kids anymore. They're adults, but I would definitely encourage people to at least try it once in your life. It was life-changing for us and loved every minute of it.
How do you think it shaped the kids, right? Well, you've given us 2 engineers, so I'm going to say that's a success there. But how do you think it shaped them? You said they were so resilient. How did it shape them as, they're young adults now, right? So,
look, I think the Territory is quite a beautiful place. I think they learn a lot about Indigenous culture up in Darwin. They are so less pretentious than in a city, Brisbane or Sydney or, those. It can be quite pretentious at some of the schools, whereas up there, I don't know, people still have fun. Children are still allowed to climb trees in the schoolyard. So it was quite a different environment for the kids, and I think it just let them thrive. It was like they were free to be who they wanted to be. It was, I don't know how to put it into words. I don't think, but have 4 really happy kids. Yes, 2 studying engineering. I have 1 who's a nurse and another one who's studying to be a midwife. So 2 health, 2 engineers. Pretty good outcome.
Yeah. Well, all of it's helping our infrastructure, right? Yeah. So you've got health helping in the health side, and then you're building it as well. So I would say it's good contribution. Good. Thanks, Tash. We appreciate it. So what about, I guess, what we want to see from a culture moving forward in the industry? So looking at where we are now and where we're heading, what do you think is going to be the important things that we want to see from our leaders and the culture we create?
Consistency. So we need to see consistency from our leaders. If we don't see that, I feel, again, it breeds the uncertainty, and uncertainty is when I think the wheels start to fall off. So when you get some consistency, some stability in leadership, I think that's what everyone needs to see.
I've got one question because I've always wanted to ask it of people that are on projects, and I always forget, if I'm honest, on the podcast. What's the biggest mistake you've seen happen on a project? And obviously you may not be able to mention the project. And how did you all collectively as a team solve it?
I don't know if I should say this, but so many. We've made so many mistakes, and we find a way around them. And often they present new opportunity. Oh, look, one that comes to mind, I think, was on a project where we needed to lay some seal down, and my whole team were telling me, Natasha, we can't do this, it's not ready. I had a client in one ear saying, it's got to go. I knew professionally we should not have sealed that road, and I should have been braver and stood up to the client and said, no, we're not going to do this. They were just under enormous political pressure. It was one of the biggest learnings for me, really. I gave the directive to do it, and 4 weeks later we had to rip it up and redo it. So I had to take that one on the chin myself, and I took the heat for it. I explained that the team were advising me otherwise. I owned up to the mistake that I should have stood up to, the client at the time, and I certainly have ever since then. So, that's one big mistake that's happened. I was pretty terrified to tell my boss at the time that this had happened, and when I told him the story, he said, Natasha, you've probably made these calls a dozen times, and 11 times it was the right call. Sometimes you just don't make the right call, and that's okay. And we fixed it, and we all moved on. And we're all better for it.
What an amazing leader as well that you feel. I love I have to be honest, your authenticity and your honesty, it's inherent in everything you do. It's the way you carry yourself. And to me, it's no surprise that you like to build trust, because that breeds trust, right? Because what you see is what you get. And I want to commend you for that, because we need more of it. We really do.
Yeah. Thank you.
What's the legacy that you want to leave in the industry, you know, for your 30 plus years, because you're still working in the industry, for your contribution? What's the legacy you want to leave?
Yeah, look, I think you always want to leave a place better than when you entered it. And 30 years is a long time. Hopefully I've still got a few left in me. But you always want to leave it in a better place than what it was. And it is in such a better place than what it was. I'd like to think that I have contributed to that. So many extraordinary women do so much for our industry. So I think, yeah, particularly from a female point of view, I want to make sure that, you know, there's good culture, there's good pathways for females in our industry. You know, when I step out, I guess the other legacy is you can't, you know, back to the old, you can't be what you can't see. Given I'm, you know, in the sort of probably the back quarter of my career, it's really important that I get into these executive roles and really demonstrate to women and to anybody really that diversity is good, and diversity, and I don't mean just gender diversity, but experience, cultural, all of that sort of stuff. I think the legacy is we need to see more of that, because we'll see more successes when we have that.
Thank you. I'm going to do a bit of fun with the rocket round now. So the rocket round now is just, you don't get any prep for this, because it's just random questions about
nervous.
you. Tasha's like, no prep? Great.
I'm an engineer, remember?
Yes.
This doesn't do well for me.
There's no program, no plan.
Oh.
Whew, she's sweating over here. Coffee or wine?
Wine.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay. Favorite holiday, poor cats. Favorite holiday destination?
I love cats too. Yeah. Favorite holiday destination? Look, my favorite family holiday was when we chartered a yacht around the Whitsundays.
Whoa.
It was fantastic. Best holiday ever.
Why was it good? What did you enjoy about it?
Oh, well, we went with the kids. It was only a few years ago, and you know, don't get much phone reception. You're on the beautiful blue water. You can't really go anywhere when you're on a boat. So, it was just really good for some family bonding. Scenery was beautiful. Weather was beautiful. Amazing. All those kind of things. Yeah.
And what podcasts do you listen to, or books?
I'm nervous. I listen to The Inspired Unemployed with my kids. Is that really bad?
No, that's fine. And books as well. A lot of people that don't listen to heaps of podcasts read books too.
I actually do have the Blink List. Have you heard of the Blink List?
No.
It's it's an app, and it gives you 20 to 30 minute blurbs on books. So read that every day. And so there's a whole different series of books that comes up. You pick what you're interested in. And so rather than reading a whole book, it gives me a 20-minute rundown on the key points in a book. And then if it really excites me, I'll go and read it, or I just find another Blink.
I feel like you've created a hack, like I call it the GM hack. So because you would have to get a snapshot of how a project's performing, right, and just the one pager. So now you've done that. I love how you've done that in your personal life and gone, well, I'll get the one pager of these books and then decide which one's worth me investigating more.
Yeah, it's great. it's such a, and you can actually, they'll read it to you. Like you can either read it, or you can just put your headphones in and go for a walk, and they read it out to you. It's great. I love it.
And what makes you feel like you're home?
My mum's baked dinner.
Oh, what does she do?
Nothing. It's just hers.
I love that. And do you all get together and have a baked dinner as a big family, like your kids and everything
occasionally,
as well?
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Pork or lamb or crackling?
Yeah, we like pork.
Yeah.
Crackling is good.
Yeah, my kids, for us, it's the crackling. That's the...
I quite like lamb too, though.
Yeah.
Happy with either.
I'm getting hungry, so I think that's time to wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Yeah, really value your insights. And I really hope that there's some listeners out there, you know, if you love the podcast, please message Natasha, let her know. It's always nice to hear. And I love hearing from people. Guests really get a kick out of it when someone reaches out and says they enjoy it. As always, like, share, subscribe, review. If you're enjoying it, please share on LinkedIn because we're finding a lot of our listeners are on that platform too. So thanks for listening.